Hey there, this is Teacher Ola Podcast episode 31, Learn English with Metallica, Nothing Else Matters. My name's Ola and I'm an online English teacher. This podcast is for you if you're an English learner who wants to speak English with more confidence and get rid of speaking barriers. You'll boost your vocabulary, brush up your grammar, improve your pronunciation, and see how to have a tense-free conversation with another English-speaking human being. Go to my website for full transcripts and worksheets to each episode. Happy learning! Thank you for tuning in. Please remember that this episode is transcribed and you can find the text on my website. Go there because you need to see the worksheet. Go to teacherola.com/31. Hello and welcome to your English class today. I'm excited that you have chosen this podcast for your practice today. This episode will definitely differ from what you normally hear. This time, I'm happy to have a guest. Marcin contacted me after the episode about Metallica's Unforgiven and offered his help with analyzing the lyrics of another Metallica song. And I accepted the offer and proposed recording something. Marcin has recorded himself and it's pure gold. Thank you, Marcin, so much. This is how it's going to look like today. First of all, you'll hear from Marcin and he'll tell you about his journey. You'll find out how his learning process looked like, what helped him to finally start speaking fluently, what kind of attitude you need to have to make the learning process faster. Marcin will also suggest learning methods. You'll hear one great tip on what kind of materials to choose. Above all, Marcin is going to share with us his passion for Metallica. It's absolutely clear he's a devoted fan, so passionate about the music. It's a pure pleasure to listen to him. Later on, I'll jump in with some interesting facts about the song Nothing Else Matters, and that's not all. Then we'll take a closer look at the lyrics of the song, and then you'll have a chance to make this episode practical for you. We'll go through the lyrics line by line and repeat them. You'll learn some collocations and phrases, you'll listen and repeat even more sentences. Don't skip the repeating part. Please don't leave it for later. Repeat out loud. Okay, let's begin. Are you ready? Let's hear from Marcin.
Hi everyone, my name is Marcin and I have been asked by our lovely host of this podcast, Ola, to say a few words. There are really two main reasons for me being here, and one of them would be my interest in learning English language. I was born in Poland, but the last 13 years I have been living in the United Kingdom. Being in Poland, I have only had learned English at university for 2 short academical terms. What really made a difference in my learning was coming to UK. I know, it sounds like a cliche, but believe me, speaking from my personal experience, it is true that the best way to learn a foreign language is to go and spend some time in a country where people actually speak that language. Let's put it that way. In my life, I have been learning Russian language for 4 years and German for another 5 years at school while I was living in Poland. Neither one of them I can actually speak right now. But after only roughly a year and a half of attending language course here in England, I was light years ahead of my own skills in the other 2 languages. Obviously, not everyone can afford or even have a chance to go and live in UK. In that case, probably the next best thing I can suggest is what I call being greedy for the language. Looking for every occasion, no matter how small, to learn something. Nowadays, let's be honest, with an internet in almost every house, options are unlimited. You could be trying to read a bit from a website, or maybe a piece of an article if you prefer an old-fashioned newspaper, but listening to an English radio, watch a short video, or maybe even, at some point, a whole film. In which case, to start with, I would strongly suggest putting on English subtitles to help you catch words spoken too fast or with an accent which you're not familiar with. However, no matter what you choose, I believe The most important is to do it on a subject that interests you. It is always easier and more fun to listen, read, or watch about something you like. In my case, it was music. Reading about my favorite bands, watching interviews with them, and finally understanding what exactly they are singing about was a huge factor behind my drive to learn English. This, I guess, takes us to the second main reason I'm a guest speaker at this podcast today, which is my passion for music, and in particular, a certain American heavy metal band called Metallica. I tend to say that I'm the second biggest Metallica fan in the whole wide world. Why not first, you can ask? Well, I'm afraid this spot is already taken by a certain guy born in Denmark who labels himself with the title of the biggest one, and as he actually co-formed Metallica alongside his friend James, I really do not stand a chance of competing with that, do I? A fun factor for you, Lars Ulrich, whom I just mentioned, have had his very first drumming lesson only around recording Metallica's third album. And that is not because he thought he played drums so well before, but because he was so madly driven by his passion to become a drummer in a rock band that nothing, literally nothing, was going to stop him, even the fact that he couldn't properly play in the first place. Metallica is a real phenomenon, not only within the metal music, but more broadly speaking in the entire popular music industry. There are very few other artists who are that successful over such a long period of time and crossing over more than just one genre of music. Metallica's career stretches over almost 39 years now. In that time, they have sold an estimated 100 million records around the world, picking up along the way 14 Grammy Awards and playing over 1,700 shows across 60 countries. What's more, 6 consecutive Metallica albums released between 1991 and 2016 peaked at number 1 on Billboard's 200 list. Can you imagine that? 6 consecutive albums. Basically, whatever they recorded at the time was just flying off the shelves. They were also inducted to a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2009. If you're one of an older internet users like me, you might remember a little file sharing website called Napster back in the day. Well, believe it or not, Metallica is one of the main reasons Napster doesn't exist anymore. The website was forced to close down following a lawsuit filed by Metallica's drummer Lars Ulrich over sharing on the internet supposedly unfinished version of their song I Disappear. And if that's not enough, listen to that. Metallica has got an entry in Guinness World Record Book. How awesome is that, right? The band has been recognized for being the first musical act to perform a concert on every continent. That's huge, isn't it? And believe me, there is way more to Metallica than just their commercially acclaimed songs and albums. Just give it a go and listen to something by Metallica you have never heard before, and you might be very surprised. And if you are a Metallica freak like me, always hungry for more information about the band, I suggest you search the internet. If you're not sure where to start though, apart from obviously band's official website, I strongly recommend a Polish website, www.overkill.pl. That's www.overkill.pl, where somewhere in archives you might actually stumble upon a couple of my translations or articles. Okay, enough of that. Let's get down to the business. Today's episode of Ola's lesson is based on probably the most famous and definitely the most recognizable Metallica song, called Nothing Else Matters. The song was released on band's self-titled album Metallica in 1991. Thank you to our host Ola for giving me a chance to talk to you, and let's learn and enjoy. Take care, guys. Bye.
Thank you, Marcin, for sharing your story with us. Marcin has also prepared a bunch of interesting facts about Nothing Else Matters. It's all his work. All I did is translated it into English. Let's hear some song facts prepared by Marcin. Nothing Else Matters is the first and probably the last in the history of Metallica song about romantic love. The author himself admitted in interviews that he had written it while touring with the band. He had been missing Kristen Martinez, his then girlfriend. This is particularly interesting considering the singer's introverted character and his tough guy image. Hatfield's close personality as well as the image of macho he created were to protect him from emotional difficulties in life. Later in his life, emotions took him over when James felt hurt after breaking up with Kristen. He publicly denied writing Nothing Else Matters with her on his mind. Nearly 20 years later, James himself admitted in one of the interviews that at first he was afraid to play the song to his friends from the band. It was intimidating to wait for their reaction to a song radically different from anything they had done so far. It was also deeply personal, and he wasn't sure if he wanted to share it with everyone. Finally, he agreed to record a demo after his friend Lars had persuaded him to do so. Nothing Else Matters is in fact a fairly simple song about love and missing someone. However, like most of Hatfield's lyrics, may be and should be perceived in broader sense. Searching for the meaning of life, or a human personal relationship to their higher power, and many more big ideas are to be found in this simple at first hand song. In a recent interview, James told the story when he was invited to a popular in the USA Hells Angels motorcycle club rally, where they showed him a short film created in honor of one of the club members who passed away. In this film, the song Nothing Else Matters was used as the soundtrack. The singer said, "It was amazing. Such matters mean much more than just longing for a girl. It shows feelings of brotherhood and unity, just like in an army." Until Nothing Else Matters was written, James had drawn inspiration from TV news, books, films, or from long hours of talks about life and drinking alcohol with a narrow group of friends. For this, just like in The Unforgiven or even more The God That Failed, he himself became the inspiration to write the song. Lines such as "never opened myself this way" or "so close no matter how far" literally illustrate a massive change in his approach to writing lyrics. Nobody expected that the author of the thrash metal creed, which was Whiplash, or the biblical creeping death, warning against drug addiction, Master of Puppets, or even the anti-war manifesto in the form of One, would write about something as personal as his feelings for a woman. Indeed, Nothing Else Matters has become one of the band's greatest commercial successes. They have sold just over 1 million copies of the single worldwide. In the entire discography of Metallica, this song could be overtaken in this classification only by a peculiar monster of popular rock music, Enter Sandman. At first, they deliberately omitted the song while performing live because of the assumption that something like this will never be accepted at concerts. But then Nothing Else Matters debuted on billboards, and radio stations from around the world seemed to play it constantly. In turn, Nothing Else Matters became an inseparable element of virtually every Metallica concert. The first 2 bars of the song, in the form of repeated 6 individual notes, are today one of the most recognizable guitar intros not only in rock but also in all popular music. Legend has it that James invented this passage during a phone call with Kristen. As he was holding the telephone receiver in one hand, he used the other one to play empty guitar strings, and by doing so, he composed the characteristic phrase. Another interesting fact about Nothing Else Matters is the arrangement and production of the song. Bob Rock, a former producer of Bon Jovi, for example, got hired. At one of the last stages of recording, he decided to add a delicate string arrangement. And then one of the most admired film music composers in Hollywood at that time, Michael Kamen, was asked to arrange it and then to conduct an orchestra that played these sounds. Michael Kamen is known for the music from films such as Die Hard, Highlander, Lethal Weapon, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. The band ruled out such an idea at the very beginning, and only when the producer played them a fragment of the song with the orchestra already mixed, James Lars and the company changed their minds. What's more, they liked the effect of cooperation with Michael Kamen so much that 8 years later, when the conductor offered them a recording of a dozen or so of their songs with additions to arrangements for classical instruments, Metallica not only agreed to it, but also proposed to play these songs live with the entire symphony orchestra. Now let's move on to the lyrics. Listen and repeat out loud. So close, no matter how far. Couldn't be much more from the heart. Forever trusting who we are, and nothing else matters. Let's stop here. What strikes me and what needs to be said here is that there is a difference in pronunciation patterns in British and American English. British pronounce t sound, whereas in American English, t is pronounced differently. In the case of the word matter, in American English, we have so-called flap T, which basically sounds like d. Listen to both pronunciation patterns. Listen and repeat. British. No matter how far, no matter how far. American, no matter how far, no matter how far. In the song, we hear the American pattern, of course. No matter how, it doesn't matter how. Matter is also used to ask if somebody's upset, unhappy, etc., or if there is a problem. Repeat after me some more examples. I'll be there no matter what. I'll be there no matter what. What's the matter? Is there something wrong? What's the matter? Is there something wrong? Is anything the matter? Is anything the matter? What's the matter with you today? What's the matter with you today? The following verse. Never opened myself this way. Life is ours, we live it our way. All these words I don't just say, and nothing else matters. Never opened myself this way. Reflexive pronoun, myself. I see lots of problems with those, so let's repeat all of them. Myself, yourself, herself, himself, itself, ourselves, yourselves, themselves. It's always better to see the word in a context, so let's practice all sentences. Have you heard yourself? Have you heard yourself? She must be very proud of herself. She must be very proud of herself. He introduced himself. He introduced himself. The company has got itself into difficulties. The company has got itself into difficulties. We shouldn't blame ourselves for what happened. We shouldn't blame ourselves for what happened. You can try it out for yourselves. You can try it out for yourselves. They seemed to be enjoying themselves. They seemed to be enjoying themselves. Life is ours, we live it our way. Okay, so isn't it pronounced our? Well, sometimes it is, but the main form is our. In American English, our. Repeat after me. Our house in the middle of our street. Of course, I'm exaggerating, and normally nobody says it like this, so maybe without exaggerating, it'll sound like this. Our house in the middle of our street. Our street. Instead of our street. Okay? One last time. Our house in the middle of our street. Our song is the way you laugh. Our song is the way you laugh. Because our love's not hiding anymore. Because our love's not hiding anymore. We show them some of our photos. We show them some of our photos. Next verse. Trust I seek and I find in you. Every day for us something new. Open mind for a different view. And nothing else matters. Trust I seek and I find in you. To seek means to look for something or for somebody. Past and past participle forms of this word are sought. So it's seek, sought, sought. Repeat the examples. The pilot sought permission to land. The pilot sought permission to land. She was determined to seek revenge. She was determined to seek revenge. They came seeking for the truth. They came seeking for the truth. EU citizens have the right to seek employment in any member state. EU citizens have the right to seek employment in any member state. A different view. View carries two meanings. A view is what you can see from a particular place or position, especially beautiful countryside. A view is also used when you are talking about whether you can see something or whether something can be seen in a particular situation. Let's have a look at some examples. The sun disappeared from view. The sun disappeared from view. I didn't have a good view of the stage. I didn't have a good view of the stage. I'd like a room with a view. I'd like a room with a view. Tensions within the band remained hidden from public view. Tensions within the band remained hidden from public view. Sit down, you're blocking my view. Sit down, you're blocking my view. and I hold opposing views on the matter. She and I hold opposing views on the matter. His views on the subject were well known. His views on the subject were well known. I am afraid I do not share this view. I am afraid I do not share this view. In my view, it was a waste of time. In my view, it was a waste of time. The last verse. Never cared for what they do. Never cared for what they know. But I know. Never cared for what they do, not care for something or for somebody, to not like somebody or something. Repeat after me. He didn't much care for their friends. He didn't much care for their friends. I don't care for seafood. I don't care for seafood. I don't care for him enough to marry him. I don't care for him enough to marry him. Good job on repeating all sentences. That brings me to the end of this episode of Teacher Ola podcast. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you, Marcin, for your appearance. All the best. Now, I do recommend going to teacherola.com/31 and downloading the worksheet. It's Nothing Else Matters, gapped song lyrics. Listen to the song and fill out the gaps. If you liked this episode, let me know. Leave a comment on my website, teacherola.com/31. If you know someone who is a Metallica freak, spread the word and let them know about this episode. Teacher Ola Podcast 32 will be available next Wednesday, and it'll be about the zero conditional, so grammar it is. Make sure to subscribe and do not miss it. Have a great week. Till next Wednesday, happy learning. Bye bye.